Hi, my name is Shifa Saltagi Safadi, and I am the author of Getting Between, the National Book Award-winning novel in verse, as well as Sisters Alone, my upcoming novel in verse about two sisters stuck home alone in a blizzard. Today, for Poetry Month, my tip is repetition. I talked a little bit about this in an earlier video on voice, and I think poetry is very fluid. It merges with each other. A lot of the rules apply to the rules or the tools, if you like to use that word better, they apply to multiple ways of doing poetry. And so some of these tools and tips and tricks of writing poetry that I'm giving you, you might hear them in other videos, but I also want to give them their own space because of the fact that I really think they can be powerful. And with repetition, that is one of the really awesome ways that I think poetry also stands out. Because typically with prose, when you write prose, when I'm writing my Amina Banana stories or in picture books, I have not yet written a middle grade prose other than my Amina Banana series, but upper middle grade or more than that have usually been novels in verse. And in prose, you typically are discouraged from repetition. Too much repetition of words can feel like it takes away the meaning or like too much for the reader. You're encouraged to find different ways to say things, to not make it too redundant. In verse, these rules don't apply that are in traditional prose. And in fact, you can use repetition not just like a little bit, but you can really stress it and use repetition a lot in order to make your point clear. And that's one of the things I love about poetry. The book I'm going to use to illustrate this example is All That Chandni Knows by Khushbu Patel. This is a new release in 2026, and I absolutely adore this new novel in verse. The language is absolutely stunning. And on page 210 is a really great illustration of repetition. This is what it looks like, and I will read it to you to illustrate. Earned. For the end of October and the whole of November, I pretend I have two hearts and two brains, and I lock away one heart and one brain, and pour the other heart and the other brain into putting my head down and making sure that my two eyes are used only to study, 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 even on Diwali, study, 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 and answer and solve only exam questions and problems till it is declared in December that Chandni is the one that's earned the boarding school spot. As you can see, study was said and repeated so many times that by even saying it, study, 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 you get that imagery of Chandni studying, and you really understand that she studied a lot. And she didn't need to say, in prose, you might say, I studied for a lot of hours, and I studied over and over, and this and that. But in poetry, you can simply say, study, 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 and show your point in such a beautiful, lyrical, and awesome way. And it makes it so accessible to readers because they can see it on the page as it's happening. I hope you enjoyed today's tip of the day and you try repetition in your own novels or poems.